Let's go.
And we're back.
And
in the same clothes.
Yeah, I've resigned to the fact that I'm not going to do outfit changes when we batch big episodes. What's the point?
It's too much.
Once we start reaching over like 1,000 views on YouTube, maybe I'll put some effort in my appearance.
Maybe I'll go full glam if we get over 1,000 views on YouTube.
Maybe I'll wear a prom dress.
I was literally just gonna say, my bust on my fucking wedding dress. Go get it from my mom's house.
I do have mine. Oh my god, we should record in them. Mine won't fit, but
I was gonna say I don't know that mine would fit. About 20 pounds heavier than I was when I got married.
Oof,
I didn't have any muscle. I just did cardio to get skinny.
I don't even want to tell you how much difference I think I am from then.
Yeah. And I thought I was fat.
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't think I was fat then. I didn't think I was skinny, but I didn't think I was fat. I just didn't have
muscle like I do now, where I'm like, yeah, bitch, you look strong. Like,
you do look very strong. I'm so proud of you, bitch. Yes. Yeah. Get them pull-ups and chin-ups.
I mean, without the band, it is significantly harder.
Yeah, but still, you're still doing it. So, yes. What is that song? It's like, get them pull-ups right and
that's the workout song by Kanye West.
Thank you. Okay.
Sit-ups.
I was like,
we're it's sitting something up to do something.
Yeah, I was like, it's something, but like, I was like, what is that song?
Your tummy tied in.
Yeah, yes. Sit-ups, right? And yes. Oh, yeah. My younger me did not know that's what that was about. I mean, I obviously knew it was like something shady, but I pulled a muscle in between my fucking shoulder blades.
From probably just turning your head the wrong way because
literally it doesn't feel good. No, I was doing a splits program on Peloton. They have like different instructors do these programs called splits. And so right now I just finished Robin Arzone's 3-day split. And hers is an advanced one where you lift heavy, and it's like more like traditional lifting versus the class where it's like it's not like it's sped up. Each instructor has their own different flair of how they like to lift, but it was like traditional lifting, and it was really, really nice. It felt really good actually this week to do that.
Good.
But I do think I pulled something because I was lifting today and I was like, okay, where'd that come from? But anyways, that's literally none of that is what we're talking about. But yeah, I mean, some people want some banter, so there it is.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what we do for literally 50 minutes. This episode, it's 73.
Yep.
Okay. We literally just recorded one and I already forgot. Tonight we are recording. It may be daytime by you, maybe not. Maybe it is Christmas. Who knows when you're listening to this?
Quite literally.
Yeah, literally. We're going to talk about breaking down or just acknowledging the stigma that comes with potentially having a mental health diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
So take it away, Steph. I feel like I monopolized the whole conversation last time. I feel like I was like,
no, you're fine.
Like when I sucked in air, I was like, Steph?
No, I think this is a really relatable topic for a lot of people. For a lot of people, well, I shouldn't say a lot. That's a overgeneralization. But in my experience, I've worked with people who are self-conscious about having a diagnosis, right? I don't want to be labeled. Here's the thing. Having a diagnosis does not mean that is who you are at the core of your person, right? Like that's not labeling your soul. It is labeling something that you are coping with at that very moment, right? That could be lifelong, right? Don't get me wrong. Like they don't necessarily just like go away. You learn how to cope with them.
Right.
I've had experience with clients on getting denied for certain things because of a diagnosis, which is honestly outlandish to me. And I shouldn't say I'm surprised because I am, but I'm not, right? To be denied for say like short-term disability or something with your job because of a previous mental health diagnosis, that does not prove to be a threat towards anybody. You're still functioning in everyday life, right? There are certain diagnoses, and we've talked about this in the past, that people perceive to be like essentially like a death threat, right? Of like, who's going to want to date me if I have this diagnosis? What did I say?
Death threat.
Oh, death sentence. Yes.
It's them books you've been reading, boo.
I mean, We're not going to talk about that.
Oh, I can't. That's not this type of episode. Woo-wee.
We are not talking about that today, everybody. We can, but not today.
Oh, yeah, we can, but not today. Not.
Yes.
Ooh.
A death sentence in terms of like, oh my God, who's going to want to date me? What if I can't get a job? Nobody's going to want to hire me if they know what my diagnosis is. Here's the thing. First of all, you don't have to disclose your diagnoses on a job application. First and foremost.
You literally don't, unless you're lifting heavy machinery, but you don't have to disclose your diagnosis.
Or going
you have
into
to
the military, but like.
Yeah, you have to disclose the meds you're taking. That's it.
Right. I want people to understand that when you are diagnosed with something, it is to give you a better understanding of what is going on with you. Mm-hmm. Right. So if I am diagnosed with depression, then I come to realize, wow, that's why I've been so fucking irritable. Or wow, that's why I have a really hard time getting out of bed every day. Or wow, that's why sometimes I feel like shit's never going to change and nothing, like everything is pointless. Right. Mm-hmm. Because before that, I'm assuming something is just wrong with me. Right. I'm just a shitty person, you know, or somebody who has ADHD. I'm just a flighty fucking person. I'm an airhead. I can't remember anything. I'm an idiot. Right. Like all these, we're labeling ourselves with the symptoms that we're experiencing versus identifying what exactly it is. So then we can treat it accordingly. Mm-hmm. I will say what really grinds my gears nowadays.
What really mashes my taters.
Does that nowadays is the glamorization on TikTok of diagnoses.
You know what? Here's the thing. It's remove TikTok. Social media.
Social media. Thank you.
Social media. Because TikTok is the one just delivering it full force because that's what most everybody is on and seeing. Yes. But like social media is the culprit.
Includes YouTube, includes Instagram, includes Facebook, all of the above.
Reels. Right? Yeah, all of it.
They're glamorizing their own experience in hopes of relating to other people. What happens is there's like this ripple effect with everybody who's watching, who is then self-diagnosing and coming in to see us to be like, well, no, I have this. I relate to people who have it and I have all of those things. So I must have it. Okay. No online quiz. Here's the thing. No online quiz is going to tell you what your mental health diagnosis is.
None.
Okay. When you look at the questions, you know exactly what they're assessing for. And you have this biased opinion in your mind when you already think that you relate to those things. So you're going to answer accordingly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We are trained to diagnose people, whether it was we were trained at school, we were trained at a job. We are equipped to diagnose people. It takes a lot to diagnose a person with a mental health disorder. I want people to understand that relating to somebody who has something that you think you have, like I get wanting the camaraderie of it, right? Or like to be understood. So there's like two aspects of it. Either you want to feel understood and you want to relate to these people, or you're at the complete opposite end of the spectrum and you're like, I don't have that. No, I don't have that though. Like that's not me, right? You want to argue all the points despite somebody who's unbiased saying, these are all of the observations I've made. These are all of the things that you've told me. This is all of the criteria that you meet. There's no shame in that.
No, and there's no shame in relating to somebody who has a certain diagnosis or who exhibits certain characteristics and you feeling like, you know, that really resonated with me. That doesn't mean you have it. For example, this is just off the cusp. I'm going to give Steph a set of symptoms. I'm going to play client. And she is going to give me all of the different diagnoses I could fall under.
Why do I feel on the spot right now? I'm really good at diagnosing, but I just got caught off guard and I feel on the spot.
But here's the thing. What I'm going to give you, you can't signal down to one thing. I want you to give and here's the thing. This is how big the DSM is. She won't be able to give every single thing that I'm about to give her because that's how big the DSM is, which is what we use to diagnose people. So I feel I'm the client. I'm 24. I'm 24. I am a fashion designer. I live in I'm not a fashion designer. I am a home interior decorator. Yeah, well, I love fashion, but I'm not designing it, but I would love to design people's homes. Anyways, this is fun. Okay. I'm 24. I'm a fashion home interior designer. Stop doing that, Mari. I live in a big city. I walk to and from work. Sometimes I get really paranoid that somebody is following me or that somebody is like tracking my steps. My friend had somebody break into her house, so I'm pretty worried about that. I feel like I check my locks pretty repetitively because I'm worried about that happening. I also find it really hard to relate to people who don't know what I personally am going through. I sometimes interrupt a lot. I feel like I like to be the center of attention, but when the center of attention gets on me and I'm in front of all these people, I feel really judged, and I feel.
Oh, I just lost your audio. Hey. No sound. You're back.
What's the last thing you heard?
I feel really judged.
I feel really judged when I'm speaking in front of my colleagues, like when I'm kind of presenting like whose home I'm working on. I also find it really hard to connect with my boyfriend because I feel like my parents weren't really there for me. I don't feel like anytime I would talk about things that bothered me when I was younger, it was like, oh, like it's not a big deal, slough it off, like suck it up, buttercup type of attitude. So I find myself like kind of really asking for a lot of reassurance in my relationships. And I also am so worried about what the future is going to look like. Like I get really anxious thinking about all of the what ifs that could come from like, should I stay in this job? Should I pursue something else? I'm only 24. Should I start a family? Do I really want to start a family in this like social climate? So I'm coming in hopes that you can give me a diagnosis and I can kind of use that as my starting point.
So first of all, this gives you guys a picture of like what an initial session could look like as a therapist.
Yeah.
Right? Where they come in. And here's the thing. I actually really enjoy the first like few sessions because I really, really get to know a person, right? It's all information gathering. I am taking all of this information and as like Mari likes to say, I'm laying out the puzzle pieces and putting them together to figure out the whole picture, right? Mm-hmm. That being said, there are so many things that she brought up that I don't have enough information about, right? Is she paranoid because she had a traumatic upbringing and she was attacked before? Is she anxious because her friend has experienced things and now she's worried that's going to happen to her? Does she have a personality disorder based on how she was treated when she was younger, right? Does she have ADHD and that's why she can't focus, or is it trauma? There are so many layers to diagnosing a person, you guys, it's unreal. It would be irresponsible of me to just slap a diagnosis on her the first session, right? Mm-hmm. Technically, when you work with an insurance company, you have to give a diagnosis. What we do as like a safeguard as therapists is we start with what's called an adjustment disorder. She's adjusting to living in a big city. There's a lot of things going on. She's anxious about things. And then over time, we change it based on what we see and what we've heard and what we've experienced and those kinds of things. I need to know timelines of things. How long has she felt this way? How often does she feel these things, right? Like you really have to gather a lot of information. It's not, I see the snippet of her for 37 seconds and I'm like, it's what it is.
So let's take it a step further. So everything that I just told you, that I'm feeling paranoid, anxious, all these other things. Now say I get on social media. And there's this video that comes up that it's like, if you have any of the following, you could have trauma. And it could be like, like intrusive thoughts. You can't stop thinking about things, like always checking over your shoulder and your back, hypervigilant, like all of these things. All of the shit that I just spit out at Steph could technically fit that person's thought process of what trauma could be. And so I could be like, oh, fuck, I have trauma. What? What? That's not even what? Like I gave Steph criteria for probably 6 to 7 different diagnoses diagnoses. Like there was anxiety, there was paranoia, there was a personality disorder there was ADHD, there was potential trauma from family. Like there was so many different things. So that is just our disclaimer when you are saying that you resonate with certain things that people are expressing and they have certain mental health diagnosis. I understand that can feel very validating and that can feel, you can feel included, right? Of like, oh my God, like I fit somewhere. Like I feel this, right? I get that. The danger of doing that is one, potentially pigeonholing yourself into this one diagnosis that doesn't fit you. Now, though, that you're saying it, you feel like you have to make it fit.
Sure.
And that's not going to suit you because then you're not getting the exact help that you need. There's certain modes of therapy that go with certain diagnoses. Like I'm not going to do DBT with somebody who's actively psychotic. Like we're really going to work on reality testing, grounding, coping skills. I'm not going to be like, let's challenge your thoughts. They're like, bitch, I don't know
what's real and
what's real and what's not. What the fuck is there to challenge? There's a monster behind you. Like what? I'm like, what are you talking about? The FBI is trying to get me. What are you talking about? Challenge my thoughts. You're an idiot, right? So like, I mean, then you're just missing the mark. You're sitting here telling me that you have this certain diagnosis and I'm trying to help you in that diagnosis of okay, this mode of therapy kind of goes well with that, or like, oh, that's not a diagnosis that I treat. I need to refer you out. Now I'm referring you to somebody who's like, they don't have that. What do you like? And so it's just this clusterfuck, right? That is our side tangent of be open to potentially going to the therapist, laying out all of the puzzle pieces and you guys coming together. There's a reason why I don't utilize insurances. I don't really I feel ambivalent about diagnosing. I love giving people a starting point to feel like that validation of like, okay, these symptoms aren't me. It's symptoms of this diagnosis. And yes, it's an experience and I can move past that. I'm so much more than what this experience is. And I have the power to change that. And then I kind of come over to this other thing of like, you don't have to let that control you. Because some people can't say, it's hard for some people to stop at like, okay, this is my jumping off point, right? Some people are like, no, this is me.
I was just going to say, they kind of like, I don't want to say glom onto it because that sounds really offensive, but they internalize it as their entire existence and convince themselves that they can't be any different because that is who they are at their core.
Right.
And I've said this a million times. I resigned to being a depressed person and I was like, I'm just a bitch. Like fucking deal with it or don't deal with it. But like, for what? I don't
like how like 10 like just 10 years of missing connections with people because it was this thought process of I don't want to like it's just always going to be like this. And I feel like mine was the exact opposite, right? Like sure, my parents didn't go get me diagnosed or assessed, but I feel like I didn't go until now because I was like, God, I really don't want that label on me. Like right now it's just kind of without a diagnosis. It's kind of like, oh, that's cute, like fun, flirty, like Mari loses her mind sometimes. Like, but I behind the scenes worked really hard to find skills and tricks and, you know, little tips and certain things that help me to not forget things, to be more prepared, or to recognize a situation where I started to feel shame about something. Like my sister is phenomenal at knowing what we would need for a situation, right? Of like, okay, we're going to be go on. We're going to be going at a park. Like we're going to be gone to a park. We need to pack these snacks, certain drinks. Okay. Probably 4 hours on to pack XYZ. My ass would roll up with Sophia with like a bag of fruit snacks for like the day. And I was like, we'll figure it out. But like, Soph was like, I'm so hungry. Like when she was like 3 or 4. And so Tara was like, oh no, don't worry. I got it. In those moments, I started to feel shame of like, God, I'm a shitty mom. Like I can't even pack for my daughter. I can't do blah, blah, blah. And I was like, and this was like in the infancy of like, work on yourself.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no need to feel shame. There's no need to feel any of that. It's a recognition of, I don't like the way that I'm feeling right now. How do I combat that? I combat that. Well, okay, Tara's prepared and I am not. How can I be more prepared? What do I need? What does she have? She has food and she has water bottles. Maybe I could just leave some shit in my car so then I'll always just have that. I don't have to pack every time I leave my house, but I could just put some protein bars in the car and call it a day. Done. Now I feel a little bit better about myself because I've done something that fits me I don't want to be her. I don't want to pack a suitcase full of snacks, but I don't just want to have a bag of fruit snacks for the day and be like,
Sure.
let's ration these. Like,
Yeah.
so it's, you can take control, but it very much was like, maybe I don't want that label. But then I started recognizing to the point where it was like, okay, I really need a little bit of something because I'm using my skills, I'm using my tips, my tricks, all of these things. And it's still starting to get to the point where I'm like, my brain feels like word salad. Like I can't get the, like, it's like, I'll focus on one word and I'm like, if I can't get that word out, then I can't continue this sentence or this conversation with somebody. And it's like, ugh. So
I remember when PMDD became a diagnosis, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And let me tell you, I've never felt more validated in my entire motherfucking life.
Yes, bitch.
When you are already predisposed to depression and then you add PMDD in the mix, when I tell you guys, I'm a fucking psychopath. Like Mari knows how terrible I can be.
I don't think she's a psychopath. I think she's
not a literal psychopath.
I think she's spicy moody.
It's bad. Like I dislike myself for that, like a week where I'm like, I don't even want to be in my own company. Bughead swim yesterday and he earned a gift card to Culver's. And of course he's like, Mom, I want to go to Culver's right now. And I'm like,
great.
I'm gonna fucking lose my mind if you ask me to go to Culver's. It was 2 days ago. So I'm like irritated and I'm like, I just want to fucking go home. My stomach hurts. Like this is how I'm like reacting to my 8-year-old who just wants to try Culver's for the first time. Okay. And then I'm like, you're the fucking worst. So we didn't go because it was too busy. And as I'm driving home, I said to him, you know what? I'm sorry that I got upset with you that you wanted to go to Culver's. And he goes, I didn't think that you're upset. You just were frustrated because it was a long line. I said, no, I was angry and frustrated and taken out on you because I have a stomach ache and I don't feel good. And that wasn't right. I don't want to act like that anymore. He didn't really understand the difference, but I needed to do that for me to not shame myself as like, you're being a fucking shitty mom. Right.
Yeah.
I am more isolative when I'm like this. I don't really respond to people in DMs. Mari and I don't Marco Polo as much because like, I just don't have it in me to do it. Right. And if I have to work, I have to save the energy for clients, unfortunately. Not unfortunately, I don't want to, but like, that's my job.
Yeah.
But then people in my life suffer. And I recognize that because I'm closed off or I'm irritable and I don't want to talk. And it's a hard balance, but it's one that I'm willing to work on because living with that it's brutal. It's obnoxious. It sucks. But like I'm doing everything that I can to make things better during that time, which is like having the mindset to know in 3 days, this is going to go away. I'm not going to feel like this in a few days. I just have to ride this out and I'm going to be okay. So it can be, I don't know if I would call it liberating, validating, like to A, have somebody that understands, or B, just have a label on something where you literally just felt like you yourself were just like, for lack of a better term, like going crazy, where you're like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like, why am I like this? Where like the smallest thing can send you into a rage. It's awful.
Also, something I want to point out is just because you fit diagnostic criteria for a diagnosis does not mean you are all of the diagnostic criteria that is listed in that diagnosis.
Yep.
That is something that is a big thing. Whereas like some people, like you could do a Google search of what depression looks like. You could do a Google search of what anxiety looks like. You could do a Google search of what ADHD looks like. So depression of like moody, withdrawn, isolative, suicidal,
hopeless, lack of appetite, lack of sleep.
Yes. And anxiety,
restlessness, poor sleep.
Like go extreme though. Go extreme with it. Like can't function at work, can't show you like some of these extremes, right? Or someone who has ADHD of like can't complete tasks on time, no time management, blah blah blah.
Things, forgets
things. Like loses things, forgets things. I don't lose shit. And I definitely do not have poor time management skills. Time management is something I'm like hyper vigilant about for no reason. Maybe hyper vigilant is an excessive word because it's not like I have like
hyper aware.
I don't have like trauma history surrounding it. It's just like maybe it's like a sticking point because my ex used to be like, you're late to everything. And I would be like, what? No, I'm not. Like maybe a minute or two, but it's not like I was like, oh, it's at 4. I'll be there at 4:30. But like maybe to like prove a point, I was like, ugh. But anyways, so there is a spectrum in which a diagnosis, like the symptomology of a diagnosis fall in, right? It doesn't mean that because you're anxious, you are this like you can't function, you're scatterbrained, you're obsessive, it could just be that there are certain things that cultivate a little bit of this like physical response and this panic, or there's this one certain stimuli that really does create this anxiety for you. It doesn't have to be that you're just all of a sudden turn into this fucking mess that fits this mess that fits this stereotype that's online. You also have to understand it's online. So I mean, you can go change somebody's Wikipedia page right now. Like, you could do anything online. Like, case in point, social media posts.
Yes.
We're thriving. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, guys, you aren't. You are not. You aren't. And I'm not either. I posted that cute picture, that cute story, or that really fun thing, and I just screamed at my kids. So,
my mom, like,
we're not doing well,
and then call me, and I'm like crabby. She's like, "Well, you looked fine on social media." I'm like, "Yeah, it's social media.
Social media.
I don't want to talk though. Like,
I'm not gonna scream at people through my story, but I'll scream at you if you call me again. Like,
yes,
it's a highlight reel, and as much as people can be like, "I'm putting myself out here. I'm being open and honest."
They're only showing you what they want to show you.
Exactly. I feel like we are very vulnerable people on social media. Y'all do not know the real. You do not know the real Mari and the real stuff. It is very cultivated in the sense of like, I am protecting my peace. I will share some very vulnerable moments with you, especially on this podcast. But there are things that are lock and key for just me, and that is A-okay.
Yep.
So please understand that just because there is this plethora of information, you are not all of that information to be able to be under that diagnosis. In the DSM, though, you do have to fit a certain number of criteria to be under a certain diagnosis. So don't just be like,
frame.
Yes. Yeah, don't just be like, that resonates with me. Okay, I have it. That's not how this works.
Like,
you also should not be.
DSM.
Yeah. Oh my God. You should not.
I have all of these things.
In my mind, I was like, I have BPD. I am a fucking rager. Or I'm histrionic, one of the two. Definitely a rager. Definitely.
I never viewed you as histrionic, because histrionic people are like over-sexualized. I'm like, well. They use their sex appeal to get their point across. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm BPD.
But then I'm like, Amber Heard is fucking histrionic. That's not me. That's not me. That's not me.
No. And then I was like looking at BPD, and then I was kind of looking at ADHD, and then I was like looking at Gemini, and I was like, I mean, maybe I feel like in your teenage years, everybody's a little BPD because we're all this like teenage angst and hormones, and we don't know what we're doing. Right. And then I grew up in like these really, last 7 years or whatnot. Yeah, 7 years. I'm like, no, you've worked really hard to be very upfront, honest, straightforward, vulnerable, and calling yourself out on shit. So maybe if you would have stayed married, you'd be BPD. I think so. I think I would have fell heavy into the rager role. Heavy. Like, bitch, it's a choice. Get up. Get up. Girl, get up.
Yes.
So my hope is you can come at this from two separate ways. Potentially using going to therapy and receiving a diagnosis as a jumping off point to understand that you can feel validated, you can feel vindicated for what your experiences have been, and be able to use that as like, okay, how do I transition going forward? And or you can use that as like a self-acceptance point, right? Let's stop fighting what's there and understand that just because this label is being put on you doesn't mean that that's you. Like, you are so much more than just that. The same way we say it all the time of like, you're so much more than your physical body.
Yep.
You are so much more than what your mental health is. Like, there are so many other aspects that make you you. Steph is so much more than what depression has had. She's so much more than her medical diagnoses. She's so much more than physical things that have happened to her. I am so much more than being in a shitty marriage. I am so much more than having been in a shitty marriage. I am so much more than my medical diagnosis. I'm so much more than my mental health diagnosis. Like, what? Like, I'm Mari. I don't introduce myself as Mari with ADHD or Mari with celiac disease. I just say my name is Mari.
Maybe you should.
I might. I do like if we're out to eat, I throw celiac out there immediately because you know what? I'm not puking at this table.
I'm not gonna shit my pants in your booth.
Yeah. You know what I'm not fucking doing? A migraine for 2 fucking weeks and brain fog, bitch. Like in joint pain.
Yes.
All the new fun things that keep happening to me. Got cross-contaminated and my back hurt for 3 fucking days. I was like, okay, so
it's the worst. But now I know I had a flare up yesterday because I have my period. So I was like, okay. Mm-hmm. I woke up thinking like, what the fuck is happening now? Like, okay. Because I'm 38 and I'm decrepit apparently.
Somebody said Shark Week and I was like, oh, like your period, and they're like, no, like Shark Week.
Like actual Shark Week.
Yes. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry.
I never refer to my period as Shark Week.
I don't either.
Actual Shark Week.
I know, but I was like so like I've been so in it with like I have a lot of women who deal with infertility struggles, and that's a trigger for them, or like people who are trans, that's a dysphoric moment for them. So I was like, oh, and she was like, no, on the TV. I'm sorry. We tuck my therapist back in. Whoopsie. All right. So you can find Steph at The Spooky Therapist. I am at BEA_XO11. We are at Rewriting Her Story Podcast on Instagram and YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, comment, anything. We love it all. You can email us questions, concerns, or comments at rewritingherstorypodcast@gmail.com. Any topics you want covered, we are always open. These 2 topics were suggested by clients of mine and something that we talk about frequently. So we do listen. We do respond. Yeah. Until next time. Bye.